You've been warned. Welcome to my studio. I've been working with resin for about 3 years. I've learned through research, trial and error, and this is how I take ferns or flowers and turn them into jewelry. My kids have been sleeping when I was trying to do the audio, so if I sound like I'm whispering, that's why. I discovered this substance that I could preserve all kinds of things in. Pressed flowers, dried flowers, these are from my wedding bouquet, leaves, butterfly wings, my baby teeth, mustard seeds. I even had a little gnat sneak in here. I'll show you how I made these for necklaces, so if you want, you can too. I like to start with a silicone mat, just in case I spill something. Find some tape. You'll need something to pour the resin into. I got these bezels on Amazon. One is silver and the other gold. Silicone molds. See this bezel? My brother-in-law cut some copper pipe for me. You can make your own casings with all kinds of different stuff. Gloves, mask, turn on a fan. This stuff can catch on fire, so figure out what safety information you need for your resin and stay safe. Disposable cups with measurements on the side. Something to stir with, pipettes, and of course, your resin. For jewelry, I really like the Entropy resins. I haven't had to use the heat gun once because it does such a good job of keeping the bubbles out. So epoxy resin comes in 2 parts. There's the actual resin and the hardener. When you mix them together, it creates a chemical reaction that heats up and over time hardens into a solid. The hardening time varies depending on what brand or type you use. I'll show you how this resin works after we get our last ingredient here. Flowers. Now, you can dry flowers or press them, but the trick is to get all of the water out before adding them to your resin, or it's going to mess with that chemical reaction and you might get rotten flowers that aren't so preserved looking. I have a flower pressing kit, or you can use a heavy book or something like that. I like to put paper under and over the flowers so they're easier to remove once they've dried. You can stack some heavy books on there, and then you just let it sit for 1 week. Of course, if you want to do things a little faster, you could always microwave it. And I'm putting a heavy weight on it, and then we're going to microwave it for probably 15 seconds, and then check it. It's not my favorite method, but sometimes when I haven't planned ahead as well as I could, it works. Because I have a silicone mat underneath, I technically don't need the tape, but I like the extra security. And it leaves a glossier finish on the back. On the silicone, you get a matte finish. And I have these syringes for transferring the resin, so I don't actually pour too much in at once. See that H? That helps me remember which container I got the hardener syringe from. Alright, so this epoxy resin is a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 parts resin, 1 part hardener. So for 20 milliliters of resin, I need another 10 milliliters of the hardener. Then we mix it till it's clear. I feel like it's usually around 5 minutes. Once it's all mixed in, I wait 5 minutes or so and just feel the edge and see if it's getting hotter. If it is, then the chemicals are doing their thing and you can go ahead and pour the first layer. I like to go ahead and measure and lay out the flower design to make sure it'll fit in the bezel before I start placing it into the resin, because it can get really sticky and easily messed up, and it helps it go a lot smoother. Now you can go clear or pick another color, but for these I'm adding a black dye and make sure it's fully incorporated. I've had enough spills before that I like to take my time with this part. I used to just pour this in, but always ended up making a mess or getting too much or whatever, so these pipettes make a huge difference. I'm only filling these halfway so there's room for the ferns and then a clear top coat. Use up any extra resin. And wait for at least 90 minutes, or whatever the pot life length of the brand you have is. "90 minutes? Are you crazy?" Well, if it was clear, it doesn't matter as much if the flowers sink down a little. But as you can see here, if you don't wait long enough, the fern can start to get swallowed up by the color underneath. The resin is still sticky now, but much less liquidy. I feel like my best creations always use the perfect creator's creations in them. So some type of nature or tiny flower. I never really noticed how many different types of tiny flowers God made until I started making these necklaces. And now I'm always looking around to see what else I might find. We wait 24 hours. If things were clear, we wouldn't have to wait as long. But when the first layer has dye mixed in, if we're too hasty to add the clear top, as I was with this example, it will not only mix the dye with the clear, but can also cause the flowers to float from where you place them. So I definitely recommend waiting long enough before mixing the next batch. Now to fill and dome these. Then let them cure for 24 hours. It's not ideal, but it's fixable. And they are ready for chains. Yay! I might make it a little bit shorter. Do you like my sleeves? Don't do resin in sleeves like this. It's gonna get all over your clothes. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope that whatever project you are using it for goes well, and please share it with me. I'd love to see what creative things other people are coming up with, because I'm always inspired by other people making things as well. So I hope you enjoy. Have a good day.